Didn't think I'd be having this conversation, but here we are in 2023, and Daniel Jones is looking to become a $40 million quarterback. Reportedly, the Giants offered Daniel Jones between $35 million and $39 million per year. But Danny Dimes declined. Vanilla Vic is looking to be paid over $40 million on his next contract on a per-year basis. Kyle, when you hear this report, when you hear the contract offers and the demands, Kyle, what is your reaction?
So Daniel Jones turned down $35 to $39 million offered by the Giants for what I assume is multiple years. Is that correct?
Yes.
LOL. LOL. God, Daniel Jones, let's not go crazy here, buddy.
One good season. Talk about ego.
I mean, look, this is the difference here. Daniel Jones, I was very public about this during the season. I did not watch a New York Giants football game in the regular season. I decided that if I'm going to have a healthy relationship with football, New York Giants is the thing I'm cutting out of my life. Until the playoffs, when I was like, oh, dang, Daniel Jones actually looks kind of good. Oh, this offense is actually kind of like able to move the ball. I know it was against a bad Vikings team, but I was like, oh, Daniel Jones looks different than I remember him. I saw him in spurts and touchdowns, and Saquon Barkley being healthy changed a lot of that. But I was like, oh, this team's not bad. And then I looked at the numbers. I was like, they are an above average offense this year. And I looked at Daniel Jones's numbers. I was like, Daniel Jones had a very good season, which, as you said, means he now has one very good season and 3 bad seasons. I ain't paying top dollar for one very good season and 3 bad seasons. I'm just not taking that risk.
Playing devil's advocate, though, a lot of people would say that one good season was the one season that he had an NFL head coach that people felt confident and good about. Does that at all change? One more year, Brian Dabol, maybe Daniel Jones could continue to grow and develop in this offense. You're not making any changes at the coordinator position, right?
As far as I'm aware, no. Mike Kafka's coming back next year for them, so should be the same offense. And to your point, Brian Dabol did not take that job to commit long-term to Daniel Jones. And if Brian Dabol took that job to commit long-term to Daniel Jones, Brian Dabol, you should have held out for a better job. Like, you are the talk of the town after you fixed Josh Allen. If you wanted this job because you committed long-term to Daniel Jones, buddy, you should have taken a better job.
Don't you think that might have been part of the job interview process, though? Because reportedly, the Maras do like Daniel Jones a lot.
The Maras told Brian Dabol that Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback next season. And after that, you know, you kind of have some flexibility. And that's why we're talking about 35 to 39 to even $40 million for Daniel Jones, is the Maras are the only team that's going to pay him that. Like, if Daniel Jones hits the open market, who's the team that's going to pay Daniel Jones $35 million for multiple seasons? Who's going to pay him over $100 million guaranteed? 3 years at $35 million. Who's the team?
There's not a team that comes to mind, but for me, and I guess I view this through my mind, I think there's only like 5 guys I really would offer over $40 million a year to play quarterback for me, and Daniel Jones is not one of those guys. I look at $40 million per year as an elite level quarterback. Daniel Jones, he's good. He's better than a lot of us wanted to give him credit for, but when I look at these total numbers from last year, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. From a throwing perspective, if we're going to use this criticism for guys like Justin Fields, if we're going to use this criticism for guys like Lamar Jackson, he's a much better runner than he is a passer. Daniel Jones at this point is a much better running back than he is a quarterback, and you're not going to be paying Saquon Barkley $40 million a year, so don't pay Daniel Jones $40 million a year.
In fairness to the 5 or 6 guys making $40 million is the new $30 million, so I will say that it's not that unreasonable to pay the 10th best quarterback in the NFL $40 million. That's basically what the Rams are doing with Matthew Stafford, and they won a Super Bowl that way. On the flip side,
Daniel Jones even the 10th best quarterback?
Not in my mind. At least he won't be 2 years from now. So I wouldn't, like I said, I don't want Daniel Jones as my long-term quarterback. I want Daniel Jones as the way that you treat like Jimmy Garoppolo, where it's like year to year, baby. Let's see if we can find something better. And as soon as he plays poorly,
let's do that. Like Daniel Jones or Derek Carr in a vacuum.
Well, no, at this stage, I would go Daniel Jones, but a year ago, I would have said Derek Carr.
Well, Daniel Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo, you threw out the comp.
At prices. So if they're making the same amount of money, Daniel Jones, if I'm getting Jimmy Garoppolo at what Jimmy Garoppolo is going for, then Garoppolo.
Yeah, because I assume Jimmy Garoppolo probably this offseason, I'm going to project $20 million, 18 to 20, somewhere in that range, versus if Daniel Jones' baseline minimum is getting $30 million, equating that value, I think Jimmy personally, but
yeah, think about it this way. So last year, Daniel Jones on the 5th-year option was making $19 million, right? And Jimmy Garoppolo, after they guaranteed about $7 million, his contract was about $18 million. And the Giants had the opportunity to get Garoppolo when he was going through the shoulder injury, and they said, no, we'll just run it back 1 year with Daniel Jones. He's under contract, and then we'll evaluate after the fact. I thought their wins and losses were going to be all about Will Levis, and that clearly is no longer the case for the Giants. I thought they were going to be drafting a quarterback in this year's class with a top 10 pick, and ultimately the Giants aren't in a position to do that. They have an offense that's pretty good. I hate doing this because I'm a pro-labor guy and I'm a union man, but like, this is what the franchise tag was invented for, is for people like Daniel Jones. You give it 1 year, see if he can do it, and then maybe tag him again next year. And then after that, it would be 2 years and 80 something million guaranteed. And maybe you play yourself and you have to spend an extra $40 million, but you also kind of save yourself the not knowing and the possible we can't get out of him.
Well, you only play yourself if Daniel Jones next year is coming out and performing at Lamar Jackson-like levels. If this 15-5 touchdown interception ratio turns into 30-5 next year, then yeah, you absolutely played yourself, because Daniel Jones at that point is going to be hands down a $40 million a year contract, if not more. I agree with you. This is the perfect situation for a tag candidate if you've ever seen one. You do wonder in many ways, is Daniel Jones at risk of overplaying his hand a little bit?
Well, not if the Maras love him so much that they're willing to pay it and they view him as their long-term franchise quarterback. Because remember, this is the same group that essentially listened to the fans and fired Ben McAdoo because they tried to get rid of Eli Manning 2 years too early. And they could have drafted Josh Allen in that 2018 draft class if they had listened to Ben McAdoo being right about Eli Manning being washed. And instead, they ran it back 2 more years with Eli Manning and went to Daniel Jones. So I don't know what the deal is. The Giants run their team differently than anyone else. They fell ass backwards into a playoff win this year, which I think in large part is Brian Dabol. Give the people the flexibility to do what they want, because I bet you if you gave that new general manager and Brian Dabol, I think his name's like Joe Schoen or something, if you give the general manager and Dabol the opportunity, I don't think they took that job to commit long-term to Daniel Jones. And even the evidence they're seeing right now of one very good season out of 1 year with them, I wouldn't commit long-term to Daniel Jones.
Well, we talked about the scenario if you do commit at all to Daniel Jones, you can always offer him one of those fake contracts, the Derek Carr contract, right, that he got this past season, where you could cut bait after a year, the Jimmy Garoppolo contract where there's no guaranteed money after like year 2. There's always the possibility that you could offer one of those. Now, if you're Daniel Jones' agent, of course, you're going to try and advocate to not have that, unless you're okay with just getting a short-term $45 million just for 1 year type thing. But that's the only situation in which you sign, air quotes here, Daniel Jones to a 3-4 year contract. That's, to me, is the only situation where you do it.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the weirdest contracts in the world, because it's going to be like an opt-out after 1, but then 2 years are guaranteed after the fact. And
maybe you give him one of those sweeteners, like we can't franchise tag you after next year or something of that nature. Just don't do what the Raiders exactly did and have a no trade clause in there, because that kind of fucked them over.
Yeah, what Daniel Jones needs is leverage. If he wants to go for $40 million, he needs another team willing to pay him $40 million. And I just again, who's the team? No one else would give Daniel Jones more than
go back to him as a draft prospect. Who was the team that was willing to jump up there besides the Giants? And
no one.
6 overall.
I mean, yeah, nobody. He was a second-round prospect, and he's played like a second-round prospect, which is he started for 4 seasons, and once he becomes too expensive, he becomes a fringe starter, except now, because he played a very good season this year, he's upgraded from Jameis Winston fringe starter to Jimmy Garoppolo quarterback purgatory, where they don't know what to do with him. And so, is there another team? Is it Carolina? Like, who's the team that actually wants Daniel Jones?
If you wanted to make a pro Daniel Jones case, you would also say that, okay, his passing numbers do look a little bit weak, but how many other quarterbacks had the wide receiving group that Daniel Jones had last year? Because the Giants did have one of, if not the weakest wide receiving group in the the NFL. Richie James Jr. was like their top guy.
Well, then they got the guy from Buffalo, whose name I'm forgetting, the practice squad guy who had 100 yards in that playoff game. Yeah, their wide receiver core is not great. They got rid of Kadarius Toney because he was a bust and then became a Super Bowl hero for Kansas City because that's how that one works. And look, the Giants, we should be talking about Daniel Jones and his running ability more. Like the Vanilla Vic joke is actually a pretty good comp because everyone was like, oh, Daniel Jones, you want him to run the ball, but you don't want him to always run the ball. And the Giants were like, no, just run the ball. Like our offense is run based and you're going to be doing read options and you're super fast.
Don't you think that part of that was because they knew that they weren't committed to him long term, that they were willing to use the tread on his tires a little bit more, knowing that after this year, nothing was guaranteed? And the same way we talk about running backs and burning them until the wheels fall off, right? Le'Veon Bell, right?
I would, this is kind of mean, but I would also say there's a reason why Jason Garrett doesn't have a job right now is because of those 2 years he spent with Daniel Jones in New York, which I guess is basically the bulk of Daniel Jones's prime at this point. The other part of it is having Saquon Barkley really, really helps in your running game, because if you're worried about that guy, makes it easier for Daniel Jones to get on the outside and be a super freak running back. That's why I thought they should go get Greg Roman somewhere, even as a running game coordinator, whatever the title is, just get him into the coaching staff and let him design some plays. That would be a great idea going into this year. But the offense for them was, I don't want to make it seem like this is something you can't get rid of. Like the Falcons got Marcus Mariota and replicated similar numbers in the Giants offense. Like it's not like this is a transformative offense that's changing the game. Like they had a very good season. And if you don't think you can do better than that, then I guess recommit to Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley at $50 million a year combined.
All right, guys. Well, what do you think the Giants should do with Daniel Jones? Do you think that $35 million is a more than fair contract for him coming into this year? We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on all our social medias from Juju and Kyle. Stay safe, happy, and healthy. We will see you next time.